Hello! Today we're going to check out the Jetboil Zip. It's a great choice for 1 to 2 backpackers and for boiling water really quickly. Let's see if it's the right choice for you. Hey everyone! If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Roxy and I'm part of the Adventure Junkies team. We help people like you choose the right gear to get outdoors. If you want to learn more, check out www.theadventurejunkies.com. Now let's get to what you really came for, the Jetboil Zip. All right, let's see what we got inside. Looks like this whole thing comes apart, which is kind of nice. Whoa. Start with an instruction manual. Great. Put these guys down here. All right, so let's see what we got in this Jetboil Zip. We'll start with the lid. It comes with both a pour and a drink spout. And then we've got the burner in here. It's an adjustable burner. With this guy, we'll have to cut this off to use it. A little zip tied on with instructions and warnings, I'm sure. And then we've got the stand for your gas. So your gas will clip right in here for a little more stability. And then on the Jetboil itself, we have the insulated koozie or cozy, depending on where you're from. We have this nice little pocket for tucking anything that you'd like, sometimes utensils. You have a handle. You have instructions on the koozie. And then you've got a cup under here, great for drinking your tea or hot water, hot chocolate, coffee. And then this is the patent flux ring, which is a fancy word for a windscreen. So this will help protect your flame that's heating up the bottom of that Jetboil. So let's get into some of the specs of the Jetboil Zip. It retails for $85 MSRP, which is pretty in line with a lot of other backpacking stoves. It is made in China, but designed in the US. It does not come with an igniter, which I think is probably the biggest con of this whole system, is you have to provide your own lighter or matches or something to get it going. This whole system, without this fuel stabilizer, is about 12 ounces, which is 340 grams, which is a little heavier than other canister stoves on the market, especially those tiny, tiny canister stoves that are just a little fuel burner. This adds about an ounce, and then there's also, if you want to use this system without this component, you would put a pot stabilizer on top of this, and that's also another ounce. So you're looking at adding about 2 more ounces if you want stabilization and the ability to use a pot instead of this actual Jetboil piece. This whole system packed down, if you get everything back in, is about 4 inches by 6.5 inches. And then that is about 10 centimeters by 16.5 centimeters. So everything packed in there. And you can also fit the fuel in there. So it is a nice little contained system that you can just throw in your backpack and not have to worry about. Although it is much larger than those other smaller canister stoves. So we went over a ton of the features when we did the unboxing, but there are 2 that I want to go over right now. One is the measurements inside this cup on here. So you have both ounces and milliliters. And then there's also measurements on the inside of this one. So you are able to get some really precise measurements out in the backcountry if your backpacking meals are asking for however many ounces or 2.5 cups or something. You can really get pretty close to that instead of eyeballing it, which is what I normally do. And then the other feature I want to talk about is this little knob right here does not have a pressure regulator on it, which makes simmer control really difficult. So when you get down to that lesser amount of fuel coming into the system, it either sputters or goes out. So you can't really get a great simmer, although you can get a really wide open hot flame. So I'm going to grab some fuel so we can check out this fuel stabilizer and how stable the stove is in general, and then we'll get into a boil test. All right, so we got this big boy fuel. And as you can see, this is not going to fit in here, but the smaller 100 gram fuels do fit inside, and you can stack everything. And it actually shows you on here how to fit everything. So it's a nice little diagram for you. So this fuel stabilizer, you can sort of just pop in here. Maybe. There we go. So this is really nice because most canister stoves, you just use the bottom of the fuel as stabilization. So this adds an added 3-point stabilization to the stove. And it keeps it off the ground, which is nice. Then we can screw this guy in. We're going to hear a little tss as it goes on. Yep. Okay. And then this sits right on top. There's 2 little eyelets on either side that it twists into. So this is the whole system. It is a little tall with this tall canister, but we're doing a ton of boil tests, so we want a lot of fuel. So there's 2 ways to use this. You can light it and boil water in the Jetboil, or you can twist this off and put a pot stabilizer, which is sold separately. It's about 10 bucks. It's 4 inches across, and that gives you the ability to put a pot on top of the Jetboil. For our boil test, we're going to use the Jetboil as it's intended instead of a pot and see how it does. Before we get into the boil test, if you are enjoying this video, go ahead and hit the like button so more people like you can find it. All right, so we just finished our boil test. We took 2.5 minutes to get 2 cups of water to boil. We are at 8,000 feet and it's slightly breezy today, so it makes a little bit of sense that it took 30 seconds longer than the 2-minute claim that Jetboil has. So when I was demoing this Jetboil, I actually did it wrong myself. There is a little infographic on the side here that lets you know you should first light and then place the Jetboil, and then there's also a second infographic that says do not boil this without water inside of it. So luckily I did that one right, but here just a reminder, you want to light first and then place and twist, and you place sort of where these notches hit into this bottom one, and then twist. So the reason I did it the opposite way is because, as you just saw, it's a little hard to get this to lock into place. I mean, you've got water and a flame going. It seems like a lot going on. I might just continue to do it the way I did it, where you light on the side here. There's enough fuel coming out that it'll light in there. I can see how it might be dangerous with the flame and this cozy or koozie, however you say it. So that's sort of at your discretion, but Jetboil does suggest lighting first and then placing the Jetboil on. So this Jetboil cooled down in about 4 minutes. I am clearly touching it now. I maybe would not place the cup on the bottom after 4 minutes. Man, these are sticky. So, but as you can see, it's cooled down all the way, so I can do that now. I do want to talk a little bit again about how this Jetboil works. Ooh. So we're going to place this on here, and then this screws in, and you're going to hear it hiss, which means it has engaged, and then you're going to go past the hiss. There it was. So once it's on, you use this fuel gauge to turn the fuel up. You can hear it going, and then you would light it. Once again, there's some discrepancy. I would light it with the thing on because you have water and a burner and whatnot. It does say to light it first and then put the cup on. The simmerability on this is not great. You really have on or off with this fuel gauge. So you get this big, huge hot spot right in the middle there where the fire is going to come out. So if you are using the 4-inch pot stand, you're going to get a hot spot right in the middle there. So you'll want to be moving your food around constantly so you don't get a burn right in the center. It really is meant for boiling water very quickly, and it does that job really well. Because of that, you don't really get a simmer. You get on full blast and then off or sort of popping, or it has a hard time going lower. So the claim by Jetboil is you can use this 100-gram fuel canister to boil water for 60 minutes. So that can sort of give you an idea as to how much fuel to bring when you're setting up for a backpacking trip, how many cups of coffee you want. 24 boils in this canister, also acclaimed by Jetboil. We have not tested it ourselves, but so that sort of gives you a setup. If you're doing dehydrated meals, you can sort of figure out where to go from there. I'm going to pack it up again just so you can see, and once again there is an infographic on the side here to tell you how to pack it up with this 100 grams of fuel. It's a little confusing. I'm assuming this bottom portion is the orange pot holder, but really it goes really nicely on top of the fuel canister. So I'm going to pack it up that way. So we'll unscrew here. Put the top back on that. So this is going to go down in first. It slides right in there, and then you're going to get the fuel down in there, and then this sits right on top, even with the fuel cap on there. So it is a really nice system. So the whole stove packs down really nicely at about 12 ounces. It really isn't heavy, so you can keep it maybe in the side of your backpacking backpack or the brain. It's about the size of maybe like a fatter Nalgene. You don't have to keep it that close to your body because it's not that heavy. The the fuel stabilizer and the pot stabilizer both at an ounce, so you're totaling at 14 ounces if you're going to use it as a cook system. But if you're just using it to boil water and make dehydrated meals, this is really the only thing you're going to need. I do want to say this is hard to take on, to put on and take off. I had some trouble finagling it on and off. It's just kind of a tight situation here, so keep that in mind. You can sort of clip it on there, and then you got to use some muscle to pull it off, and the bigger one was even harder to pull off. So it's not just you, it was hard for me as well. But it is nice to have, because that is your only point of contact for stabilization. So this thing is taller, you want some spread out to keep the stability. There's a lot of great features on this. The cup that it comes with, the handle, it has this little pocket for silverware, a lighter, matches. You have a pour spout and a drinking spout, and then you have the measurements inside, so if you're cooking a dehydrated meal you don't have to guess, you can just get those exactly. So it is a really nice little compact stove system, great for 1 or 2 people in the backcountry. You could even go 3 or 4 if you're just boiling water, because it has such a short boil time. So you could just sort of crank out the boils, keep it running, pour. You can even leave the fuel on there while you're pouring it, and then just add more, keep going. So you can really crank out boiling water to get those meals going, or coffee or tea or whatever you need boiling water for at that time. It's just nice and fast. The only other downside is that you need a lighter to ignite it. You could go up 1 step in the Jetboil family, but I have heard issues with igniters in the past. They get bent down or not in the right position, and then you have to use a lighter anyway. So you've paid more money for a system that has sort of malfunctioned in a way that this system will not malfunction. This stove retails MSRP at $85, which is a pretty great price for what you get. A nice fast boil time, tons of features, and it compacts into itself, which is really convenient. I would highly recommend this stove. The biggest downside I see is the simmerability. So if you're actually trying to cook a meal, you're really not getting that much control over the flame. But otherwise, it's a really great system for boiling water, and I would bring it into the backcountry myself. Overall, really good camp stove system. Hey everyone, I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you have ever wasted money on gear in the past, or just don't know what gear to buy, I really want to recommend this book. It's called The Beginner's Guide to Hiking Gear, and it has breakdowns and explanations of all the gear you'll need to get safely outside. It's organized into gender, size, weight, what type of hike you'll need it for, and it's really helpful for any beginner out there, or even someone who's more advanced but wants more suggestions on how to enjoy your time outside. You can buy it at Amazon and it's available in both paperback and Kindle. Go ahead and click the link below in the description and check it out.